I bet you didn't know the power of silence in a noisy world. The city never sleeps. A relentless tide of noise engulfs its inhabitants, a symphony of honking horns, rumbling engines, and ceaseless chatter. Everywhere, people are plugged in, tuned out. From morning to night, we are bombarded by information. Emails pile up, each one a tiny tug on our time. Yet, amidst this cacophony, a profound truth whispers. The tongue has the power of life and death. Our words carry immense weight. They can heal or harm. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. Let's dive in. In a world obsessed with noise, it's easy to forget the power of our words. Subscribe and join our community as we delve into the stories, themes, and messages that shape our world. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. We live in a world awash in words. They flow from our lips, our fingertips, our screens, an unending torrent of information, opinions, and emotions. We are constantly bombarded with messages, each one vying for our attention, shaping our thoughts, influencing our beliefs. The digital age has amplified this phenomenon, creating echo chambers where our own voices are reflected back to us, reinforcing our biases and making it harder to hear opposing viewpoints. We surround ourselves with like-minded individuals, both online and offline, and the result is a shrinking of perspectives, a narrowing of our understanding of the world and those who inhabit it. This constant barrage of words can leave us feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and disconnected from ourselves and those around us. We lose the ability to listen deeply, to truly hear what others are saying, and to engage in meaningful dialogue. Instead, we talk past each other, our words becoming weapons in a never-ending battle for validation and dominance. Yet, amidst this sea of words, there is a profound need for silence. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of stillness, of intentionality, of a space where we can connect with our own hearts and hear the whispers of wisdom that reside within. It is in the silence that we can begin to understand the true power of our words and to choose them with care and compassion. Maria, a woman with fiery hair and an even fierier spirit, poured her heart and soul into her work as a teacher. She believed in the power of education to transform lives, and she approached her students with a passion that was both inspiring and, at times, overwhelming. Her classroom was a whirlwind of activity, a place where ideas were debated with fervor, and students were encouraged to think critically and challenge the status quo. Maria's voice, strong and clear, filled the room as she guided her students through the intricacies of history, literature, and the human condition. But Maria's passion, while admirable, was also a double-edged sword. In the heat of the moment, when her students struggled to grasp a concept, or when their attention wandered, her frustration would boil over, and her words, usually so carefully chosen, would tumble out in a torrent of anger and impatience. Later, when the classroom was empty and the echoes of her outburst faded, Maria would be consumed by regret. She knew that her words had hurt, that her anger had created a distance between her and the students she cared so deeply about, and she would vow to do better, to find a way to channel her passion without letting it control her. James, a man of quiet strength and gentle demeanor, found himself facing a different kind of communication challenge. His daughter, Emma, once a bubbly and affectionate child, had retreated into the silent world of adolescence. Her days spent glued to her phone, her conversations with her parents reduced to monosyllabic grunts and shrugs. James longed to connect with his daughter, to understand the thoughts and feelings that swirled beneath her carefully curated online persona. He tried to engage her in conversation, to ask about her day, her friends, her dreams, but his attempts were often met with indifference or, worse, annoyance. The silence between them grew wider with each passing day, a chasm that seemed impossible to bridge. James felt a profound sense of helplessness, a father adrift in a sea of unspoken words, unsure how to reach his daughter, how to make her understand that he loved her, that he was there for her, no matter what. He knew that communication was a two-way street, that it required both speaking and listening. But how could he listen to a silence that spoke volumes, yet revealed nothing? How could he find the words to break through the walls his daughter had erected around her heart? Sarah. Finding her voice in silence. Sarah, a young woman new to the working world, found herself navigating the treacherous waters of office politics. Shy and soft-spoken, she preferred the company of books and spreadsheets to the often harsh realities of corporate life. She excelled in her work, her attention to detail and her quiet competence earning her the respect of her colleagues. But her quiet nature was often mistaken for weakness, and she became an easy target for a group of coworkers who seemed to derive pleasure from belittling others. Their words, whispered behind her back, laced with sarcasm and thinly veiled insults, chipped away at Sarah's confidence. She retreated further into herself, her silence a shield against their cruelty. But the more she withdrew, the bolder her tormentors became, their words growing louder, their attacks more personal. Sarah knew she couldn't stay silent forever. She had to find a way to stand up for herself, to let her voice be heard above the noise of their negativity. But the thought of confronting them filled her with dread. She had always been taught to be polite, to respect her elders. But what good was politeness in the face of such blatant disrespect? Pastor Mike, a shepherd of words and wisdom. Pastor Mike, a man of God with a heart as big as the city he served, had witnessed firsthand the power of words, both for good and for evil. He had seen words used to heal broken hearts, to mend broken relationships, to inspire hope in the face of despair. But he had also seen words used as weapons, to tear down, to destroy, to inflict pain that ran deeper than any physical wound. He had seen the devastating effects of gossip, slander, and hate speech, the way they could poison minds and divide communities. Pastor Mike believed that true communication began with listening, with opening our hearts and minds to the experiences of others. He preached the importance of empathy, of putting ourselves in the shoes of those who are different from us, of seeking to understand before seeking to be understood. He taught his congregation the value of silence, not as an absence of words, but as a space for reflection, for prayer, for listening to the still, small voice of God within. He reminded them that sometimes the most powerful words we can speak are the ones we choose not to say. A city of silent struggles. The city, a tapestry woven from the lives of millions, was a place of both great beauty and profound brokenness. Amidst the towering skyscrapers and the constant hum of activity, countless individuals grappled with the challenges of communication, their voices lost in the noise, their stories waiting to be told. There was the young couple, deeply in love but struggling to bridge the gap between their cultural backgrounds, their words often lost in translation, their silences filled with unspoken misunderstandings. There was the elderly woman, living alone in a tiny apartment, her days marked by loneliness and isolation, her only companions the memories of a life well lived, and the faint hope that someone, anyone, might listen to her stories. And there were the countless others, their lives touched by grief, loss, addiction, and despair, their voices silenced by fear, shame, or the simple belief that no one cared enough to listen. They moved through the city like ghosts, their presence felt but not truly seen, their stories yearning to be heard but finding no outlet. The weight of unspoken words hung heavy in the air, a palpable presence that settled over the city like a shroud. It was in the awkward silences between friends, the missed connections between lovers, the unspoken resentments that festered within families. It was in the pleas for help that went unanswered, the cries for justice that fell on deaf ears, the dreams that withered and died for lack of encouragement. It was in the missed opportunities for understanding, for connection, for love. The city, for all its noise and commotion, was, at its heart, a place of profound silence, a place where the deepest longings of the human heart often went unexpressed, unheard, unfulfilled. But amidst the silence, a faint glimmer of hope remained, a whisper of promise that things could be different, that the power of words, spoken and unspoken, could yet be harnessed for good. The teacher's lounge, usually a haven of shared laughter and caffeine-fueled camaraderie, was thick with tension. Maria, her face flushed, her voice sharp with frustration, argued with a colleague, their words colliding like thunderclaps in the small space. The disagreement, trivial at its core, had escalated quickly, fueled by weeks of unspoken resentment and simmering frustrations. Maria, her passion for her students burning bright, felt misunderstood, her ideas dismissed, her contributions undervalued. And in that moment, her anger, always lurking just beneath the surface, erupted with the force of a volcano. Her words, sharp and cutting, pierced the air, leaving a trail of hurt in their wake. Her colleague, caught off guard by the intensity of Maria's outburst, responded in kind, their voices rising in a crescendo of anger and accusation. The other teachers in the lounge, uncomfortable witnesses to the unfolding drama, retreated to the sidelines, their attempts to mediate falling on deaf ears. As quickly as it had begun, the argument sputtered to an end, leaving behind a heavy silence, broken only by the sound of Maria's ragged breathing and the frantic beating of her own heart. In the aftermath of the argument, Maria retreated to the sanctuary of her empty classroom, the weight of her words pressing down on her like a physical burden. The silence, once a source of comfort and inspiration, now mocked her, amplifying the echoes of her anger, the sting of her words. She thought of her students, their faces bright with curiosity, their minds eager to learn, and her heart ached with the knowledge that she had failed them. She, who believed so passionately in the power of words to inspire and uplift, had allowed her anger to turn those same words into weapons, inflicting pain on those she cared about most. The silence of the classroom pressed in on her, each tick of the clock a reminder of the chasm her words had created. She longed to take them back, to erase the hurt she had caused, but it was too late. The words had been spoken, their impact irreversible. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the empty desks, Maria made a decision. She would apologize to her colleague, would seek to repair the damage her anger had caused, but more importantly, she would seek guidance, would find a way to tame the fiery beast within, to harness her passion without letting it control her. Across town, James sat at the kitchen table, a plate of uneaten food growing cold in front of him. Emma, her eyes glued to her phone, had mumbled a perfunctory greeting before disappearing into her room. Her presence in the house felt but not truly seen. The silence between them, once a source of shared comfort, had become a chasm, a tangible manifestation of the growing distance between them. James longed to bridge that gap, to reach out to his daughter, to understand the thoughts and feelings that lay hidden beneath her carefully curated online persona. He tried to initiate a conversation, to ask about her day, her friends, her dreams, but his words felt awkward and forced, met with monosyllabic responses, or worse, ignored altogether. The silence stretched on, broken only by the rhythmic tapping of Emma's fingers on her phone screen, a language James struggled to decipher. As Emma retreated further into the digital world, James felt a profound sense of helplessness wash over him. He knew that adolescence was a time of change, of pulling away from parents, of forging one's own identity. But he had always believed that their bond, built on years of shared laughter, whispered secrets, and unspoken understanding, was strong enough to weather any storm. Now he wasn't so sure. In the sterile environment of her office cubicle, Sarah sat hunched over her computer, the glow of the screen illuminating the fear and uncertainty in her eyes. The whispers, once confined to the break room and the hallways, had found their way into cyberspace, spreading like a virus through the company's online forums. Anonymous messages, laced with the same venom and thinly veiled insults that had plagued her in person, popped up in her inbox, her social media feeds, even on seemingly innocuous online forums. The words, stripped of their authors' identities, took on a life of their own, their power to wound amplified by their anonymity. Sarah felt a cold dread creep into her heart, squeezing tight around her chest, making it difficult to breathe. The silence she had once sought as a shield against their cruelty now felt like a prison, isolating her, amplifying her fear. She longed to confide in someone, to share the burden of her pain, but who would believe her? Who would risk their own standing in the company to defend hers? The thought of confronting her tormentors filled her with terror, but the thought of enduring their cruelty in silence seemed unbearable. As the sun set, casting long shadows, Maria, James, and Sarah were drawn to Pastor Mike's church. The church, a beacon of hope, welcomed them with open arms. They sat in the pews, heads bowed, hearts heavy with unspoken words. Pastor Mike, his face etched with compassion, moved among them, offering comfort. He listened as they shared their struggles, their voices hushed whispers. A sense of shared humanity settled over them, reminding them they were not alone. Section 6. The Long Road to Understanding. Pastor Mike reminded them that healing began with forgiveness. Forgiveness for themselves and for the hurt they had caused. He stressed that forgiveness was a journey, not a destination. It required patience, compassion, and a willingness to listen. In the silence, they could understand the true impact of their words. Maria, burdened by her outburst, sought solace in the quiet corners of the school. The bustling hallways now felt overwhelming. She found refuge in the school library, surrounded by books. In the silence, she rediscovered clarity and a deeper understanding of herself. She recognized the triggers of her anger and the fear beneath her facade. As she sat in silence, peace settled over her. James, inspired by Pastor Mike, resolved to become a better listener. He put away his phone and focused on being present with Emma. He asked open-ended questions, his voice gentle and inviting. At first, Emma's responses were hesitant, but James persevered. Slowly, Emma began to share snippets of her life. James listened, grateful for his daughter's trust. He realized that sometimes the most powerful words convey love and support. The strength found in silence. Sarah decided to face her tormentors with silence. She met their insults with a steady, unwavering stare. Her silence was a powerful statement of defiance. Her tormentors were taken aback and their words lost power. They faltered, their laughter dying in their throats. Words of healing, bridges of understanding. Maria approached her colleague with a heartfelt apology. To her surprise, her colleague responded with kindness. They talked openly about their pressures and misunderstandings. The barriers between them crumbled, replaced by respect. Maria realized true communication was about listening with empathy. The ripple effect of kindness. James' commitment to listening improved his relationship with Emma. They began to have real conversations, exploring their thoughts and dreams. Their laughter filled the silences with warmth. James discovered listening was about being fully present. It allowed Emma to feel truly seen and heard. As the city lights twinkled, Maria, James, and Sarah gathered at Pastor Mike's church. They sat in the quiet sanctuary, reflecting on recent events. Pastor Mike spoke of finding peace in the pause and embracing silence. He reminded them that the world was noisy, but silence brought clarity. In the silence, they found wisdom and strength to navigate life's challenges. The city felt subdued, the air thick with tension. News reports spoke of rising crime and economic uncertainty. A community meeting was called to address the unrest. People filled the auditorium, faces etched with hope and apprehension. Maria, James, and Sarah felt the collective anxiety of the crowd. The meeting began with promises but quickly descended into chaos. Fear spread through the crowd, threatening any hope of resolution. An inflammatory remark ignited outrage in the crowd. Maria felt a surge of anger, but remembered Pastor Mike's teachings. She took a deep breath and forced herself to stay calm. James felt unease as the meeting spiraled out of control. He thought of Emma and the challenges she faced. He knew she would be watching the news coverage. He hoped for a better future for her. The weight of silence. A moment of truth. Sarah felt panic wash over her as the crowd grew volatile. She longed to escape but saw the fear on others' faces. She knew silence was not an option. She had learned the danger of staying silent in the face of injustice. Sarah felt a shift within herself, a sense of purpose. A stillness descends, the power of the unspoken. Pastor Mike stood up and made his way to the stage. He didn't raise his voice but stood as a beacon of peace. A stillness descended upon the room. The speaker faltered and the crowd fell silent. Pastor Mike spoke of listening and understanding. He didn't offer easy answers but spoke with wisdom and compassion. Seeds of hope. Finding common ground. Pastor Mike reminded them they were neighbors, not enemies. He spoke of forgiveness and seeing the humanity in others. The anger in the room dissipated, replaced by hope. Maria felt a tear roll down her cheek. James took Emma's hand, promising to be a force for good. Sarah felt a quiet determination to face challenges ahead. The echoes of silence. As the final notes of Pastor Mike's closing prayer faded into the quiet hum of the auditorium, a profound silence settled over the room. It was a silence unlike any that had come before, not the tense, expectant quiet of anticipation, but a silence born of understanding, of shared humanity, of a newfound sense of hope. Maria, James, and Sarah sat in the quiet stillness, their hearts full of a mix of emotions too complex to name. They had come to the meeting seeking answers, hoping to find a way to make a difference in their community. But they had found something far greater, a deeper understanding of themselves and the power of their own voices, both spoken and unspoken. The events of the evening had been a powerful reminder that words, while capable of great harm, also held the potential for healing, for connection, for building bridges of understanding across even the widest divides. But they had also learned that sometimes the most powerful words are the ones we choose not to say, the silences that allow us to listen, to reflect, to connect with the deepest longings of our own hearts and the hearts of those around us. As they rose to leave the auditorium, each carried within them a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to using their voices and their silences to make the world a kinder, more compassionate, and more understanding place. The language of the heart. The city, bathed in the soft glow of the moon, seemed different somehow. Maria thought of her students, their faces eager and bright. James thought of Emma, of the challenges and triumphs that lay ahead for her. Sarah thought of her colleagues, of the casual cruelty that often masqueraded as office banter. The journey ahead would not be easy, they knew, but they would face those challenges together, drawing strength from the lessons they had learned. A tapestry of words and wisdom. Life, they were coming to realize, was a delicate tapestry woven from countless threads of words and silence, of spoken and unspoken truths. of moments of connection and moments of solitude. There was a time for speaking out, for raising one's voice against injustice, for sharing one's truth with courage and conviction. There was a time for offering words of comfort and encouragement, for building others up with kindness and compassion. And there was a time for listening, for creating space for others to share their stories, their hopes, their fears, their dreams. The key, they were discovering, lay in finding the balance, in learning to discern when to speak and when to remain silent, when to offer words, and when to simply offer one's presence. It was a lifelong journey of learning and growth, of stumbling and rising again, of using the power of communication in all its forms to weave a more beautiful and harmonious world. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the darkness, painting the eastern sky with hues of pink and gold, Maria, James, and Sarah stepped out into the new day, their hearts filled with a newfound sense of hope and purpose. They carried within them the echoes of silence, the language of the heart, the wisdom to know that even in a world often filled with noise and chaos, the power to create a more peaceful and compassionate future lay within their grasp. Thank you for visiting. If you enjoyed this journey, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful videos. We look forward to engaging with you in the comments and on our upcoming videos.